Hey everybody, my name is Don Squires and welcome back to DM-Compound, a level that I created as a teaching tool for my second year with the Internal Drive Gaming Academy. This video is going to be a detailed look at the outside area of the level. I'll be going into why I put certain things where and some of the issues that I ran into while creating this area. If you have not yet seen the first video in this series, the DM-Compound overview, please go back and take a look at that video first. That one will give you a basis for the level. It'll give you a fly-through. It'll talk a little bit about the constraints that I was under for this project. So the first thing that I'd like to talk about is the combat range for the outside. Each area of the compound should have a different feel for its combat, and with the outside area I wanted long-range combat. So predominantly shock rifles, some rocket launchers. The link gun out here isn't going to be very effective. So moving from gameplay to art, the compound is themed after a religious military compound, and to start that feel off, I put this very large monk statue here right in the middle of the outside. This statue is going to be visible to players pretty much wherever they are outside, unless they happen to be behind one of the buildings. So it's going to be large, it's going to be attention grabbing, it's going to start them down the religious path without having to get crazy with my lighting setups like I do in the indoor areas. So one of the things that I really like to do is, if it's going to be a large focal point artistically, it should also be a large focal point for your gameplay. And to facilitate that, I put some cover objects around the statue. There's a shock rifle spawn here, a couple of player spawns. So if a player can dominate this area, they're going to have a big advantage while fighting out here. They're going to be able to duck behind these cover objects, maybe dash behind the statue here to block off someone's line of sight. They're going to be able to move around. They're going to have really nice lines of fire across the entire outside as well. And that brings me to the second thing I wanted to talk about out here, is these blasted vehicles. As I was putting things together and starting to design this area, I realized that if I'm going to have a very strong area in the middle, anyone who spawns out here or comes out here for items is going to be at a huge disadvantage, to the point where it's just not very fun. So to counter this, I wanted to put in these busted up, blasted vehicles. It gives the player some cover that they can dash to. It'll have some health, so if they do take a pot shot or two, they can heal up and then duck behind, take a quick breather, figure out where they're going to be going. Like, okay, I can zig over here to this shock rifle and then dash for the next tree and hopefully break the guy's line of sight and not get hit. And once again, tying the art to the gameplay, I wanted the compound to have a feel that it was just under attack. So these blasted vehicles with the smoke on them and the blast mark texture used in the landscape material really makes it feel like that it just happened. And rather than just putting all of them on the ground, I want to give them a sense of they had taken an impact, like they had gotten shot with a rocket while trying to zoom out and get to the fight. So that's why you see a couple of these. They're like twisted and jammed in the ground. The debris on them is also looking like it just spun off and spiked in. And you can really see it on a couple of these. This one right here, to be specific, or this spiked in piece of debris over here. It looks like it's just got jammed in there from the force. So moving on, the landscape here, I simply used the landscape tool on. Used the paint tool on the height map to really bring out these nice mountains, and use the erosion tool to get these cool crags and shadowed areas that you can see up along here, these ridges. However, the landscape ended up being one of the major technical issues that I had in the outside area. My original plan was for there to be a large cave system behind the mountain that players could like run through a cave opening, get back there, and have another place to fight in. And you can see here where the teleporter is a cave entrance. There's another one over here, and if I can just fly through the wall of the barracks here, the barracks is also open to this cave system in the back. However, I found out that when I was putting this all together, that if you use the visibility tool to cut out that area and run underneath the landscape, that the gameplay of UDK just completely breaks. You cannot fire your gun while you're underneath a landscape. You can't spawn while you're back there. The navigation mesh just completely breaks, and with the build that I was using of UDK, there was just no way to solve that. So I had to redesign things a little. Thankfully, what I was able to do is simply take the cave section and move it back here. So it's just way back and it's flying. So when a player hits his teleporter, they just go up there and it feels like they've been teleported into a cave. And with it being where it is, a player is never going to see that. It's never going to have the feel of, oh, okay, there's something flying in midair. That's weird. Even if you somehow like rocket jump up to this area here, you're not going to see that in the background. Another aspect that I really like on the landscape is that it doesn't feel like it's just completely flat. It doesn't feel like just a simple texture on the ground. I use the noise tool to make some really nice hills and dips and valleys out here and make it feel like it's an actual ground, since you really don't see just completely flat things unless it's man-made. And you can also see a little bit over here. You get some really nice character to it. And one thing that I also used to try and bring that out were all these grass meshes that you see around, which turned out to be one of the other major problems that I ran into out here are these grass meshes. Originally, I had simply used the foliage tool to paint all these on and really tried to save some time. However, what I found out is when you have a hilly area like this, I'm just going to grab this one and move it over to show you. What ends up happening is constantly it'll put them right on the side of it. So if you take a look, this side feels like it's stuck in the ground, like it's growing out. However, this other side, just even a casual glance, is clearly floating. So the way I had to fix that was just good old simple elbow grease. I had to go to each one, find it, move it around a little, grab a big group, bring them all down, and just put in the man hours to get it looking nice. Move that back into position. One other aspect that I really like are these ladders here on these guard posts. I wanted the compound walls to feel like that they would have someone up there manning them, looking for attackers. But I didn't want my players to actually go up there. So I simply used these ladders with a couple of broken out spots here on the bottom of it to make it feel like, yeah, someone could go up there, but that it makes sense why players can't. And one of the things about the way that we had to use UDK in class is that we could not import any new assets. No new models, no new textures, nothing. So what we did is we had to find existing assets in UEK that we could manipulate into being something completely new. So these are simply metal girders that have been squished or stretched or just manipulated to feel like it feels like a ladder. Go ahead and put that back. Then one of the last aspects that I'd like to talk about is the broken up wall here on the armory. Once again, just to make it feel like the area has come under a recent attack, I just went into the landscape, brushed it down with dirt, and then the blast mark texture to make it feel like it had just seen some combat. Using using the smoke here, sorry about that, it just went into autosave. Using the smoke really makes it feel like that just happened, like it's still burning. And then once again, to make it feel like it had some force to the impact, you can see that like these railings from the broken bridge here are spun around and jammed in the ground. These supports that hold up these gas canisters here. Yeah, there you go. When this one toppled, it sent a couple of these flying, and it's stuck in the ground. It's still burning. So by just using these little techniques, I was able to bring the outside area here to life. So thank you very much for taking a look at the outside area. There are going to be other videos in this series taking a detailed look at each area of the compound, and you'll find those at the end of this video. Also, if you'd like to take a look at any of my other work, please feel free to visit my portfolio at www.donsquiresgamedesign.com/portfolio.